Hey guys, Dylan with OnX. So I'm going to walk you through some of the must-have layers, particularly for Western big game hunting, and just kind of the layers that we have within the maps that I think are extremely valuable, both as you're e-scouting, as you're in the field, as you're changing spots, even looking for new units, new states to hunt. So we'll just kind of do a brief overview of what we have for layers, what the data means, and what it looks like on the map, and why I think it's valuable for you to check them out. So we'll go to the map here. Just zooming out a little bit, you can see I've got Nevada, Colorado, and Montana turned on right now. So what you're going to want to find is the Hunt Map Layers, and it's got this little button here. If you click that, you can see Colorado, Montana, Nevada, Canada, current conditions, land and access, roads and trails, etc. So, for example, say I'm not hunting Colorado this year. I don't need that. So you just go ahead, click it, remove state. Now Colorado disappears from the map. But say I do want to check out Wyoming. You just scroll down here to Wyoming. Go ahead, hit that slider bar. Now Wyoming data appears right on the map. If you scroll back up and click Wyoming, here, let's zoom in a little bit. So you'll automatically see some data populate on the map. Kind of what you're looking at is private and public lands and game management units. So these green borders are all game management units. You can, of course, see the numbers that correspond with those units. And then color-coded private, public. A lot of people are familiar with what that means, but kind of a refresher, green is typically national forest land. As you look at some of this blue, that's typically state. BLM is typically yellow, and so on and so forth. And then the private parcels, go ahead. They have names within them and then have a red border. So you can turn layers on and off depending on what you want to see and what you don't. A lot of this might be a refresher for some folks. We'll dive into a little bit more of the detailed data layers here in just a second, but I want to cover this for anybody who's not familiar. When you zoom out, you can really tell if you turn these off. Now all that data exists, it's just not on the map. So if I want to look at a map that is just straight aerial imagery or straight topography, nothing else on it, maybe I'm looking in 3D, you can go ahead and turn those layers on and off. But for purposes here, we'll leave them on. So one other thing I want to cover real quick. So you'll see here Wyoming hunt areas. If you click layer settings, right now it is set to mule deer hunt areas. So let's zoom out a little bit to where you can see some of those units. Let's say I'm hunting elk. Those are probably about the same. Antelope hunting units. So you can select, a lot of the states allow you to change these GMUs based on what you're hunting at any particular time. So, say you're hunting mountain lions and you need mountain lion units. Well, now this whole unit is 3, this one is 4, and then all of a sudden you're elk hunting, you need to switch that. Now they're broken into several units with much different names to go along with those. So if you're in a state that does that, definitely check the layer settings so you can customize the map to the species that you are hunting. Wyoming possible access, that will show areas. I know here in Montana, possible access a lot of times is timber company and private lands, but lands that will allow you, the public, to actually come hunt and recreate. So always another good one to check. Wyoming walk-in hunting, that is a very important one. See if I can find some on the map here. There's a lot of public where I'm at. Here's some. So what these are, and each state has them named a little bit differently. Montana, for example, is called block management. Wyoming's program is called walk-in hunting. So these are actually private lands that allow hunting. Each one of them has their own rules and regulations, season dates, etc. But definitely check those out. I mean, this is a lot of potential ground that is private but allows hunting. So definitely a good layer to check out. There's also some walk-in for fishing, etc. We have a state lands restriction. Some states we actually will show restricted area, so that's a good one to always have on. That covers a lot of it for Wyoming. I mean, we could spend 45 minutes talking just about Wyoming there, but let's dive into some of the other ones. Current conditions. Let's find an area in the mountains here. So with these current conditions, we have active wildfires. We'll see if I can find one on the map here to show you what that looks like. But you can go ahead and turn on the active wildfire layer, and then you'll know where wildfires are currently at in the state, in your location. So as you zoom in here, this is an active wildfire as we speak. You can start to see the border of it. If you click on it, a lot of times you'll get more information about it. So the wildfire's name, when it was last updated, that was today. What the information is on it. So you can get a lot more information about really any data, any layer, if you just go ahead and click on it and scroll through here, hunt unit, etc. But that's a good one to have on, so what's on fire in your area. Is that going to affect your hunt? Is it safe to go hunt that area, etc. We also have some drought data. This year, thankfully, has been a pretty good year. But if you go ahead and look at the drought data, you will see some extreme drought areas, abnormally dry, etc. So that's a pretty helpful one as you're looking at tags. Do I want to apply for this unit this year or not? We'll go ahead and turn those off. We have a air quality index layer, so it will show, a lot of times, obviously, if you have these two layers on, they will coincide. So if there's a lot of wildfires, the air quality will be a little bit worse in those areas. We have a Precip Radar. Let's see if we can turn that guy on. So we got a little bit of precipitation here in like eastern Montana. Not a lot going on at the moment. Cwd layers. We have, all the counties that have been tested positive for Cwd. We have all of that information in there. Again, if you go ahead and click the layer settings, you will see more information about those particular layers. We also have a Cwd zone location where you can actually find different areas. Again, go ahead and click this. You can customize what you want to see a little bit here. Different Cwd zones. So that pretty much covers it for current conditions, land and access. Wilderness areas. I know Wyoming, for example, wilderness areas is crucial to have on because if I'm a non-resident, I can't hunt wilderness. So that is a crucial piece of information that I need to know. And so if you go ahead and turn it off, you can kind of see what this looks like without. Go ahead, turn it back on. Now I know anything in here is wilderness area. We've got slope angle. So if you look up here in the top right, we'll show you 5 to 10 degrees is in the green, 10 to, or really kind of 5 to 15, and then you start getting into yellows, reds around 30 to 40 degrees, and steeper, so on and so forth. So you can go ahead and adjust how that looks on your map, just in order to really see, like, these are some very, very steep drainages in here, a little bit lower land down here. That's a really good one for e-scouting, but honestly, in the field too as well, just kind of knowing what is what, finding different ways to get in and out of an area. Do I want to go up this ridge? Do I want to go up that ridge? Looking at topo as well as that. Sections. This just kind of breaks the map down into the quadrants that you might be used to. Township section range, really helpful for identifying where you were if you need to. So for example, in Montana, they ask you, I've been asked personally a couple times, if you harvested bear, what section was it, what township was it, what drainage was it. All you got to do is turn that on, find the township section range, and know exactly which quadrant of the map that you were in. So that one's helpful. We've got a bunch of different things here. RMEF, if you zoom out here, I'm sure we'll be able to find one here. So these are all RMEF access initiatives. And so you can find their logo here. You can click on it, find out a little bit more, what the name was. You can visit the website to learn a lot more about that particular location. Can you hunt that? Can you not? What does that look like? Diving in here, so that covered a lot of land and access. Roads and trails. This one's a big one for obvious reasons. Let's go to a different spot here in the state. All right, so as we look at these, if I turn the trails off, you're left wondering, okay, how can I access this country? Is there any good ways in there? Go ahead, turn the trails on. Now you can see all these different trail units. And to really kind of highlight those a little bit, you can turn on trail slope. What that will do is, pretty obvious, but green is the more gradual, flatter spots of the trail. As you look at the red areas, that's where it gets a little bit steeper. And if you go ahead and look at this with a hybrid or even a topo base map, you can see that. So, you're kind of side hilling right here in the trail. And then as you turn and you hike up the ridge, then it gets more into that red steepness here. And then back to side hilling, gets a little bit more gradual, etc. So that's a cool one, just to be able to tell, what am I getting myself into on this trail? Is it the entire trail? Is it straight up the mountain? What does that look like for me? So that's a good one. Trail mileage, that will just show you the mileage between two intersections of the trail. Pretty helpful one to have on as well. Let's go ahead and turn on roadless. So if you zoom out, the more purple and white the areas are, the more roadless it's going to be. So, probably more roads down here in these foothills, but as you get up here into this range, you will see a lot of area with 0 roads throughout. So really helpful if you're trying to get away from the crowd, backpack, maybe you're horse hunting and you have that capability to turn that layer on and find areas that can get you away from the crowd. Motorized roads and trails. See if we can find some here. So these will just highlight, with this layer on, it will highlight different roads and trails and let you know, what kind of classification they are. So if you click on one here, motorized roads and trails, what the name is, what the trail is, trail length 2.9 miles. So it's accessible by high clearance 4x4, side-by-side, ATV, and dirt bike. So probably not going to get, an average car up this road, but it's really helpful to know, because if I'm planning on hiking all the way in here and hunting this area, it's helpful to know that dirt bikes and ATVs can access through that. So I don't want to spend, all my energy hiking, setting up camp down here when somebody could just ride a dirt bike all the way up here and get to that same spot. So that's a helpful layer to have on at all times, honestly, just to know those locations. Recreation sites, that's pretty obvious, different camp spots, fishing access, so on and so forth. A lot of people like the Forest Visitor map, the look and feel. They're just used to it. So we also have that information here. You can turn those on and off as well. So that covers it for roads, trails. Let's see, trees, crops, and just different cover. We have a thinning layer, so you can find any areas. There's some right here actually. So you can see when areas were thinned and then or clear cutted. It will actually tell you which one is which and what the year was. So this area was thinned in 2018. This one was also 2018. If you go ahead and click it, again, it'll show you what district it is, how many acres that they thinned or that they cut, etc. So that's pretty helpful. Going back in, historic wildfire. This one will show you where there were fires and what that looked like. So let's zoom out so we can find one on the map here. Looks like there's some older ones down in here. I'll zoom into a different part and see what we can turn up. So here you can see one in 2012. This one burned in 2018. So, you'll see the parameter of the fire. If you click on it, It was the Roosevelt fire. That was 61,567 acres. The start date and some information. So, as you're e-scouting or in the field, that's really helpful information just to know, especially if you plan on wanting to hunt the fringes of that burn. Really, really helpful information to be able to quickly locate all those fires. We've got some crop distribution data. This will show, we'll zoom out to some more eggland so we can see what we're looking at here. This will show areas, it'll show the previous season's crop data. So if I turn this on, and then you can either click on it or you can honestly just highlight over it. So there's a lot of hay in these areas. Even for Western big game hunting, it's really helpful to be able to see that. Obviously, if farmers are planting a lot of hay or alfalfa, even some of the oats and everything, it's a natural magnet and attractant to big game. So, I can look at this and just know that there's probably a lot of animals down in these fields in the evenings, especially as they butt up next to some really good terrain and cover. So, I could definitely see an elk herd coming down here, eating in these hay fields in the evenings, going back up the draw, back into timber cover for the day to bed down. So that is really helpful information to know. A lot of hay in this area. We'll see if we can find something else. But basically, all you have to do is highlight your cursor over top of it, and then you'll be able to tell what that is. So we have a ton of different types. There's a lot of hay down here in this type of country. Let's see this green here. There's a little bit more diversity of it. All right, so we got alfalfa here. We got grain over here, sorghum, winter wheat here, grain. So that's kind of what it looks like. Really helpful layer for not only whitetail, but Western big game as well. Go ahead and turn those off. Tons of different information here. We have different tree data. So coniferous versus deciduous, what that looks like. We have young aspens, just to really be able to zoom in here and tell, okay, what types of trees are in here. So a lot of coniferous in here. As you hit the river bottoms and stuff, that will change. But it's really helpful just to, at a glance, know what are the tree types and kind of what you're looking for. So you can also select, okay, I just want to see coniferous trees, etc. right here in the layer settings. You can actually go into here. So in the deciduous tree distribution, you can go in and look for oak hickory, aspen birch, alder maple, exactly what type of trees you're looking for, and those will actually show you on the map. A lot of information there. I won't dive in super deep to try and keep this video a little bit shorter. The last one here we have is wildlife layers. So we've got a layer with Boone and Crockett to show you kind of what are the hotspot counties for Boone and Crockett entries there. NWTF layer, turkey distribution. We actually have a layer for prairie dogs, different prairie dog towns throughout the country, so on and so forth. So a lot of different information that you can populate the map with. It can seem a little bit overwhelming and daunting at first, especially as you go in and turn on all these layers and what am I looking at? There's so much information here, but one thing I always recommend people to do is just play with the map and turn layers on and off, see what it does on the map. If you're not sure what you're looking at, click on it and we'll give you more information about that particular area or data. And yeah, just spend time with it, and you'll learn over time, what is valuable for you, what is not, what are you looking at. A lot of times based on what I'm hunting, what state I'm hunting, what type of year it is, I'm using specific layers where other hunts, maybe I'm not using those layers, but I'm using other layers. So play around with it. We offer a lot. And yeah, good luck this season. Let us know if you have any questions.